Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, starting with these big support and resistance levels for Bitcoin, because currently we are trading inside a big level of resistance, sitting from 67.5K all the way up to 70,000 US dollars for the Bitcoin price. So if we now get a move below 67.5K, then likely we will fall into this next big level below that, sitting from 66,000 all the way down to 65,000 US dollars. But for now, we are still in this strong uptrend here for Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame, even though, yes, recently here, we have seen that Bitcoin price kind of cool off a little bit, just as I expected in my recent videos here, because at the time the RSI was in overbought territory, and typically you will see the RSI kind of reset to the downside after reaching overbought territory. One thing that is kind of interesting here, though, is that because we are in such a strong and violent uptrend, maybe this time we don't fully need to reset down to that 50 level. We kind of saw it here, where we got to 58 roughly speaking, and then just got another move to the upside. That was this move to the upside right here. So that is actually interesting. So long as we keep holding above this trend line, we could just see another bounce to the upside here, and basically the RSI just going straight into overbought territory once again. One last thing about this 4-hour RSI here is that we already have seen it reset a little bit here. So therefore, there is now more room to the upside before we reach into overbought territory once again. So that is just something to keep in mind as we go into this new week here in about 2 days. And again, that is exactly why I am watching this trend line, because if we actually lose this as a level of support, then I think it is likely that we are going lower after that, because a trend breaking like that is never really a bullish sign, right? So that is something to look out for. Currently, the level to watch is about 67.3K for the Bitcoin price. But of course, over the weekend, usually we are just trading sideways. So by the end of the weekend here, this trend line is already going to be at 68.6K. Now, the reason that that is actually an interesting level here, and we could just see something like this, is because we have this CME gap here sitting at 68.6K for the Bitcoin price. And considering that we are currently trading at about 68.2K, that means that there is a little bit of room to the upside over the weekend here to fill that CME gap, because over 90% of CME gaps actually get filled. And considering that the current price is so close to the CME gap, it would not surprise me at all if the markets actually open up around this level here. Now, of course, we do still have this CME gap right here sitting at about 53.3K for the Bitcoin price. However, at this point, I would need to see some very strong reversal signals before I am even entertaining the idea that we are going to fill this CME gap. For example, if we take a look at this 1 day time frame here, you can see that we are currently in the process of breaking out of this descending channel that Bitcoin has been consolidating in for the past 7 months or so. And of course, if you have been following my channel over the last couple months, you know that this has been the base case scenario on this channel. So far, this actually turned out to be correct. So therefore, my strategy of just buying these lows whenever we are in this blue zone and selling whenever we are in the red here has been working quite well. And right now we are actually breaking out to the upside. As I said earlier, before I can start entertaining that 53K CME gap getting filled, I would need to see some kind of crazy move to the downside here where we trade back inside this red zone, because in that case, the gig might be up and we might actually be heading much lower, because we would be losing some critical levels of support in that process. But for now, I'm not really seeing those warning signals just yet. One small warning signal that we have right here is basically this bearish divergence on the 4-hour time frame, which is when you have higher highs in the Bitcoin price and lower highs in the RSI momentum indicator. But the problem with this is that I'm not really seeing any other warning signals in the charts right now. And of course, last week we saw massive inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs here. As you can see on the far right side column, they were buying like crazy over the last week. So therefore, this is obviously pushing up the price if hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin is being bought every single weekday. And of course, on Monday, the Bitcoin ETFs start trading again. So if this now happens again next week, then I do think that this uptrend is going to continue. even with this bearish divergence in the charts here, because this can simply get invalidated like this by the price or the RSI trading above the trend line. One thing that is kind of interesting with these bearish divergences is that you can have multiple in a row. So let's say that we bounce off of this trend line here and we make a higher high. Well, in that case, you can draw this trend line like this. And in the case that we do not have another higher high in the RSI as well, then you would basically just draw this trend line like this, and you would just have a new bearish divergence. And personally, why I always take these bearish divergences seriously in terms of a warning signal, but I also need to see some confluence in the charts where I'm actually seeing multiple things flip bearish here. For example, if we see the Bitcoin ETFs flipping bearish here next week, that could be a potential indicator for us. But for now, we only have this bearish divergence in the charts and this ascending trend line here. So therefore, before we can flip to bearish, we would have to see at least a break of this trend line. But that is, of course, not financial advice. I'm simply telling you what I see in the charts, and you can do with that information what you like. Now, if we take a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, first of all, over the last 3 days, you can see that we just took out a big level of liquidity here at about 68.9K for the Bitcoin price. And there is still some liquidity at about 69K. And this just looks like a typical Bitcoin weekend to me, where we are sweeping liquidity to the upside and to the downside here. Here we took out about $160 million. We reversed, took out another $20 million, roughly speaking here. There is still quite a big pocket of liquidity here at about 67.4K, which could attract the Bitcoin price. If again we lose that trend line, that could be a potential price target. And below that, we have 66.5K, which could also be a potential price target. For now, though, most of the liquidity on this 3-day time frame is actually to the upside at 69K, with about $170 million worth of short positions that would get liquidated if the Bitcoin price reaches this level. And typically the Bitcoin price gets attracted to where there is the most liquidity. So again, coming back to this chart, we are simply in an uptrend, and it would not be surprising if we now come up here to about 69K to take out all of those short positions and punish people that are shorting Bitcoin in an uptrend. Although, like I said, if we lose this trend line, then we can come down to grab more liquidity to the downside here. So that's basically what I'm looking out for on the lower time frames here. So this has been today's market update. If you want to trade Bitcoin with leverage and take advantage of those smaller moves in the market, then check out the links in the video description, because here I link to the top exchanges that I personally trade on as well, that have the lowest fees in the crypto space. So go check that out if you are interested. Either way, this has been today's market update. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.